Okay. So we now move to our closing session, and what we want to try and do in this last session is pull together the strands of all the things we've been talking about today and to highlight some key recommendations as EU and Eastern Partnership country leaders gather not far from here for their summit. We've been talking against the backdrop of that summit all day. Now let us focus on the recommendations that should come out of this. So let me invite onto the stage. If we could just, ladies and gentlemen, could I ask you to take your seats? There is no break here between panels. So if you're staying for this session, could I ask you to sit down again? We're not breaking, we're going to carry straight on. So could you please retake your seats and let me invite up our panel to join us for the discussion. I'm just waiting to see if they are ready for me. Okay, Vitālijs GAVRILOVS. Would you like to come and join me on the stage? Introduce him again. President of the Employers Confederation of Latvia, our host today. Vitālijs, sit wherever you like. Markus, come back and join me on the stage. László Baranyay, who is Vice President of the European Investment Bank. Very warm, there you are. Very warm welcome to you. And Stefano Malia, Vice President in the Employers Group at the European Economic and Social Committee. So as I say, what we want to do now is try to identify what are the most important messages coming out of the day. So what I have done is I have asked Vitālijs if he will kick us off by giving us not a summary of everything that has been said, that would be impossible. Everything that has been said has been captured. But really what for you, Vitālijs, are the most important things coming out of today, the most important messages for those political leaders?
Thank you, Jack. I think so important. So many people still with us.
Absolutely.
It means our topic really very interesting.
Absolutely.
Not only for European Union, but also for Eastern Partnership countries.
I agree.
And of course, during the day, many people today really have had experience, suggestions, ideas, and the possible solution from representatives of European Union, and the same also in the Eastern Partnership. And the whole forum show and my own meeting during this last day demonstrate that this is one overarching pattern linking all discussions we have had. It is a need to strengthen and raise the capacity of business voice, the voice of employers' organization, and letting them have more say and more impact on policy that affected their everyday work. In particular, concern the employers' organization of the 6 Eastern Partnership countries. And what they decided during this day, we have our very tangible result, Memorandum of Understanding, what they really ready to sign. I will read this. In the framework of Third Eastern Partnership Business Forum, held 21st May 2015 in Riga, the Republic Union of Employers of Armenia, Georgian Employers Association, Federation of Employers of Ukraine, the National Confederation of Employers of Republic of Moldova, and Ukraine League of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs agreed, expressed the interest to create Business Cooperation Council, what you mentioned in the morning, for coordination of employers' activity in priority areas which the European Union, within the framework of European Eastern Partnership, the Employer Organization of Armenia, Georgia, Ukraine, and Moldova are asking the European Union Eastern Partnership Program and European Investment Bank. President of the Investment Bank is somewhere here.
And also on the panel of the Vice President, yes.
Provides the necessary support for effective functioning of the Business Cooperation Council. And now we have a unique moment to ask them to sign this document. Liga Mengesson, Director General of our Confederation, will assist my colleagues to sign this document. Liga, please.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Then we can make picture.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has genuinely come organically out of the discussions today. This was not a planned moment at all, but these organisations are now going to sign this document. And as we've talked a lot today about cooperation between the EU and the Eastern Partnership, but also within the region, it was emphasised in the last panel how important that is. So a great example there of the fruits of this sort of dialogue between the two sides. Vitālijs, anything else particular you would highlight out of today's discussion?
Is it really social dialogue? It is absolutely key questions, because if politicians have some good idea, they should make this job very qualitative way. We need result, we need trade, we need investment, we need cooperation, we need work together to our tangible result. And our tangible result can be how we can increase trade. I mentioned about Latvia. If you just have turnover around 750 million, why we can't do it after 5 years, 1.5 billion? It should be tangible. Then business and politicians will be together, try to realize this idea. Or sign a business cooperation agreement between the six countries and the business Europe. And mean we'll be edit each other. It's synergy effect. It's very important also for us.
And when you come and perhaps, Markus, in terms of how today fits in with tomorrow, tonight, the leaders meet, and tomorrow, and we talked from the beginning about the importance of a systematic dialogue between the politicians and business. Vitālijs talking there about strengthening the business voice. We've heard it again and again today. You can't do any of this. You can't achieve any of the Eastern Partnership goals without it. What would you be saying to EU leaders about how they should work better with you, with business organisations in the EU, in the Eastern Partner countries, to really make sure your voice is heard, and why they have to do it?
Well, I mean, why they have to do it, I think, is pretty obvious, because at the end of the day, I mean, this is about trade and investment, and then if this doesn't fly, I mean, the whole exercise will not work, because this is what people are hoping for in order to create a more wealthy future. So I think this is the very heart of it. But I think we made progress today. I mean, one is this initiative Vitālijs was just talking about and initializing. This is a very good thing, because we have been saying we need to integrate the area, and of course it's a very good and first step to do this on the level of business federations. So this is a very good point. We are very happy to support this. This is one point. Then of course it's about, and we have been talking about this morning, to have something structured in between, and we will have to continue discussing what this means. But we had a chat around the press conference with Commissioner Hahn. He's open to think about what this could be, without being too precise, of course. But I mean, I think there's a certain openness to discuss about it, because of course it's not enough to have this dialogue every second year, but there needs to be something structured in between, and we will have to discuss, and we'll have to see a little more in detail what this can be. I mean, there's no reason to rush, but it's important to build on this. On the substance, you wanted me to comment on the substance at this stage as well? Yes. On the substance, well, first of all, as we were saying, I mean, it's about facilitating investment, but we need to focus on a number of areas, and of course the EIB is key there, so I'll be brief. This is about energy, digital economy, transport and banking. Then, of course, I mean, we need to fully capitalize on the association agreements as a framework for structural reforms. Or the Commissioner said it this morning, I mean, this is a training field, and we just talked in the previous panel that, of course, but we need to acknowledge that this is a hell of a transition. Then we need new instruments, and just to re-underline this question of the blending instrument, and then maybe to talk again about the social dialogue. I mean, this is the very important piece. It's about capacity building, it is about having the structures there, and again, I said it this morning, I repeat myself, but it's very obvious. You can see it also within the European Union and also within the program countries. When you have the structures working, the implementation of the reforms is easier and the results are more sustainable. So this is the major points, I would say, which we need to get known to the political leaders. And then we will need to define a process going further.
Thank you very much. And I want to come back on those sectoral discussions, because there were some lovely phrases. Digital policy, digital economy was described as a tsunami of change in our economies and societies, and seen not only as a challenge in economic terms, but also as an opportunity to enhance business cooperation using digital as well as the revolution. And energy, there was a lot of discussion about energy efficiency as well as diversification of supplies and so on, and describing it as the hidden fuel of economies. So lots of different things, and I want to come back maybe when we look at focus and where we should focus on which for you is most important. But László Baranyay, if I could ask you, what do you see as the most important challenges ahead now to build on the progress we've made? Right since this morning, people have been saying, A lot has happened, a lot more needs to happen. What for you are the most important challenges?
First of all, I am a disciplined people, and that's why I try to summarize all my impressions. So this discussion, all the dates in several panels, is very interesting and very fruitful because of, I think we have a much deeper understanding of the challenges as they are perceived by the entrepreneurs and the private companies, including need for the systematic and sustainable communication. It's one thing. And the other thing, for me, that's the most important, that it's a repeated insistence on the importance of the stable and transparent business environment, which is the precondition for trade and investment to flourish. And from the perspective of the EIB, this doesn't, of course, include a sound banking sector in the partner countries, as Mr. Molterer mentioned on the previous time. In the EIB perspective, the EIB usually enters into the picture through investment ideas that are either proposed by our partners or that we have developed jointly. The key question for us then is how we can turn vision and investment ideas into concrete bankable projects using the various resources that are available, including our significant capacity to provide technical assistance, as several persons mentioned too. Some of them echoed and repeat, because it's the final meeting or the final panel of this day, as is somehow concretized and summarized or impression. So that was one of the general impression. And we have several good examples, and so we discussed not only for the perspective of the future, but because we have several good examples in the past. And President Hoyer mentioned his keynote speech because of the big sum of money which invest several parts of these countries in this region, and not only this region, but the partner countries. It's far from here from Riga. But I think it's very important to increase this volume on the basis of the mandate of the European Investment Bank, which mandate is given by the European Commission. And we follow this, and in the next programming period, we increase this, not only the capacity, but the normal investment. And I think it's in this reason, it's important to mention our investment in Ukraine, because as President Hoyer mentioned, so we have a big plan, an investment plan, but not only a big plan, because last year we've signed a bit more than 940 billion euros with the Ukrainians mainly to support the rehabilitation of the Ukrainian economy, including several sectors, as you mentioned, so including the energy sector, but not only this one, but the other important sectors, for instance, the transport sector. And we support, of course, the SME sector too, and the others. For the future, we follow this, all the regions, so mainly the three countries which we have an agreement, and of course the other partner countries, this region. So in the other, I think it's important.
Briefly, if you would, I want to come back to all these things in the discussion.
Yeah, but for me it's important that how can we summarize this? So, sorry, it's the last meeting and the last panel, and that's why it's so the freestyle. Maybe I mentioned. So I had 3 papers. One, we made it in advance. The others during the discussion, and the last one, so 5 minutes before.
It's very good. But it's very good. That's exactly what we want to do here.
Okay, but I think for the EIB role is. Several parties important. Of course, we follow the political decisions because it's the guideline of the European Commission and the policies of the European community. Of course, we have our policies and we follow these policies. And of course, we discuss our partners, our clients, so in several levels, in the governance level, so this means the sovereign level. So the sub-sovereign level, which means the municipalities, and of course the private sector, which is the most important partner, the most important key player, so in the economic growth of several countries, and that's why we signed several contracts.
Okay. If we can come back on that, because I was very struck. One of the things that came up in the discussions this afternoon, I think I mentioned this earlier, was the role of EU funds and the International Financing Institution, particularly EIB and EBRD, as the oil in the machinery that will make the partnership work. And we can perhaps come back to that in a discussion. There was also a call about, people said there would need to be a wake-up call to make sure that the investment is steered in the right direction. And that to do, I think, with business and again, this whole question of making sure your voice is heard to make sure that the funds that are available are spent in the right way. But Stefano Malia, if I could ask you, we started the day with Vitālijs telling us business cooperation. He said there is no other way. We have to do this. We've identified through the day several important challenges. We talked about in the last session implementation of the DCFTAs. We talked about more progress on the reform agenda, all sorts of elements. What for you are the most important challenges to strengthen this relationship and make sure that business maximises the benefit from it?
I think if there is something which struck me in all the discussion today, it is the number of points we can all agree on. We agree that there is need for business to take center stage. We agree that there should be flexibility in approaching the different regions. We agree that we need to create a safe environment for investment. And we agree that we need to create certainty. Now, I think what is important is that we gather these points together, and we first and foremost communicate these points we're agreeing on to our political leaders. And then, equally important, if not more important, it is the business organizations on, let's say, both sides, if we want to use that expression, that then these are then communicated at grassroots level to the business community and to the SMEs, which we spoke a lot about. It's all very well for us to be here and to agree upon everything, or almost everything. I heard very little discord, maybe once in one of the sessions I attended this afternoon. But it is very important that we communicate what is being said here today, but also doing this, keeping in mind the realities that our companies, our members, our SMEs face every day when trying to carry out business. Because we all know this. We are all people here who are dealing with the European institutions and with other institutions, and it's so very easy to lose that sense of reality of going to an SME, a 5-member SME, a 10-member SME, and the harsh reality is that that company, be it in the EU or be it in one of the Eastern partners, has to face. And of course, another important point that I think that I want to take back home as well and to my organization is that we have to understand what we are asking from our Eastern partners. We are asking our Eastern partners to undertake tremendous reform, which, let's not kid ourselves, will bring a certain amount of hardship, initially at least. And therefore it is very important that, with this in mind, we make sure that we can give something in return, so that for the hardship some tangible results are seen. Now, what can these tangible results be? It could be in the immediate technical assistance to help in this structural reform, but most importantly, I would think, it's economic progress. It's jobs and it's trade. And I think it is very important that we ensure, Commissioner Hahn said this morning, we need to start implementing. So, of course, today is very important. Today it's very important that we are agreeing on a number of points, but now let's start implementing. Okay.
Just on this question of partnership as a challenge, before we move to the opportunities and the different sectors we've been discussing. But Willem Moultrie said in the last session, he said partnership is never one way. And we heard a lot today about shared ownership, of making sure that the partners feel that this process belongs to them, and that's why involving business is so important. I just wanted to get some thoughts for you on what really is the key to making this effective, to making this an equal partnership. Do you think it is perceived in that way now? And if it isn't, What do we do to make this a genuine partnership?
Business is very pragmatic people. And I think we today strongly recommend to any development what will provide then, we should to define by tangible result of democratic reform, the quality of the rule of law and of political transition, and the ability to contribute to the region security. And of course, what we very much like, to increase our trade turnover as minimum double. It should be mutual goal for our 5 year from now future.
So mutual benefit and very clear targets to show what you think can be delivered and then to deliver it. Markus, from your perspective, and when you look at business associations and working together and this great example of cooperation within the region that's developing, what makes these partnerships really work? When you talk business to business and business association, what are the key ingredients of a partnership that is real it's not just a name, but it is a genuinely equal partnership?
You mean on the regional integration?
I mean in terms of the regional integration, but then also business community in the eastern part of the countries to EU. How do you make it a real partnership?
Well, I mean, how does it work? I mean, it's always the same thing. It's first, I mean, agreeing on a number of things you see in common, define the mutual benefit and see the mutual benefit, define what you need to do to harvest this mutual benefit, and then go for it. And this is an exercise we do within the European Union. This is an exercise we do with, let's say, the first circle of countries we work with, being the European Economic Area, cooperation, and so on. And the same applies to the Eastern Partnership under slightly different conditions. It's always about agreeing on the things you see in a similar way, and agreeing on the benefits which come from this. And of course, talking about an equal partnership, I think it has been said before by our colleague. It's of course about the balance, but of course the balance is different maybe than another partnership, because as far as let's say the rules is concerned, of course we expect that the European rules are applied up to a certain extent. So this means we will have to give something in return on other things, and I would agree. I mean, this is about assistance, this is about support, but ultimately, and this is what we were talking about the whole day, I mean, it is about attracting investment, it is about having mutual trade, and always the goal to create growth and to create wealth. And this is, at the end of the day, this is what will make the difference.
Thank you. Stefano, thought on this partnership question, and then I'd like to come to the areas of focus for the future. But in terms of partnership that really works, do you think it is genuinely perceived as a partnership? There was somebody said earlier, we also need to acknowledge in the EU that there are things we can learn from the partner countries, whereas a tendency perhaps sometimes with the EU to imply that it's a one-way street and that everyone can learn from us, but we don't have anything to learn. Is that an element of the partnership deal, that business to business, or at the political level to business and vice versa, that everyone can exchange best practice, exchange ideas, and everyone has something to learn? Is that an ingredient here?
Dealing on a business-to-business level, I don't think there is that danger that it is a one-way relationship. And I'm saying this also from our practical experience. I'm talking from our experience within the EESC and the relationship we have built with the Ukrainian business community, for example. They have visited us, we have visited them. The discussions have been on a par. And I think, if I had to be honest, from my exposure to this activity, I have probably learned more than they have probably learned from myself. And of course, this all helps us to together then be able to identify, again, those concrete, tangible results which will make a difference. Yeah. And it is important, I will repeat myself and also what has just been said now, that we don't only ask for sacrifice, but we also give something back in return. Yeah. And I think this is the key. And of course, once you start to create business, it is the experience of all businesses that try to come together and do something together. The moment you start to create business, the moment you start to create wealth, the moment you start to create employment, these are all positive elements. And I'd just like to pass one small observation. but maybe I'm missing something. Here today we've spoken about social dialogue, again and again and again. But for sure on the panel, but I'm not sure in the audience, I don't see anyone from the trade unions. The trade unions are a key element of our social dialogue. Now, coming from an employer, this might sound strange, but they are a key element of the social dialogue, and we must make sure that they too are on board these discussions.
Okay, thank you very much. If I could move us on a little bit now, László Baranyay, because we don't have all that long, and I want to focus, we've identified the challenges that we need to face. In terms of the opportunities, and we did have this afternoon and this morning parallel sessions, and we focused on key areas: transport and logistics, energy, the digital economy, and access to finance, clearly an important area. And I mentioned that quote about the digital economy being seen as bringing a tsunami of change. Tremendous opportunities out there, if we get it right. They are also areas, connectivity, something the bank is investing in a lot, infrastructure, investing a lot. Where do you see the greatest opportunities, and therefore for the bank, areas where you should be focusing in terms of making sure we talk about bang for bucks, bang for euros in investment terms? Where do you see the greatest opportunities?
We can see several good opportunities. For instance, firstly, the direct investment. So the direct investment using several channels. So, and using the banking sector, not only the banking sector, but the financial intermediators is one thing. And the other thing is investing directly to the infrastructure in investment for increasing and the capabilities of the environment, the business environment, which is, I think, the important thing. I will also hope that we have an important indirect impact by wider investing in the sectors that underlie the attractive business environment, including innovation, education, transport infrastructure, digital economy, and of course the energy sector. I think that are the key priorities. But last but not least, today we discussed about it as Willy Molterer and the Georgian Minister of Agriculture signed. It's not a contract, but only at the moment it's an intention paper. So in the field of agriculture, because this region, so the agriculture, the companies and the capabilities and the opportunities, the financing the agriculture, so it's very important. And I hope, so not in the near future, we going to sign at the same with the Ukrainian partners and counterparts too. So I think it's would be important. So I think we have several channels, several opportunities, and of course it depends on the needs of these countries, so these regions, and that's why we have to find the most appropriate way, which is the most important for these countries. Yeah. So in one country, for instance, it's a more important thing the transport infrastructure, but maybe the other countries, I think so again, most of them, it's important the educational system. Yeah. So they invest in the educational system because that is the background. So okay, the backbone of the economy, the SME sector, but the background of the future economic growth is in the education, I think.
So that capacity building through education, through training, absolutely essential. But again, the differentiated approach, it'll be different for different people. I'm going to come out to you, all of you, for a last time to get any highlights from you from the day. But Markus, in terms of the key opportunities, in terms of the issues that we've talked about in those parallel sessions, we had a very clear focus in those. But I'm just wondering, the Commission talks about more focus in the future, and it also talks about identifying areas of strongest common interest. Where for you, when you look at, I say we had sessions on transport and logistics, energy, the digital economy and finance, where would you see the strongest common interest and therefore the biggest opportunities that we can exploit through better business cooperation, all the things we've talked about today? What's the biggest prizes out there, if I can put it that way?
Well, you know, it's difficult to take out one of these four, because I think this is the four key pillars. Energy is an obvious one, because we will not have an answer to the energy strategy of Europe without this region. So this is very clear, and also for this region this is key. Digital debate we have in Europe as well is insofar key, because we can do it in two ways. I mean, we can do this in a way where it might deepen the gap which is there, but we can do it in a way where the gap is being closed. And I think there's a big responsibility we have there in order to look after this, that we do it in the second way. Transport, well, again, has been stressed. The connectivity is a real key story, and as long as we do not improve the connectivity up to the level which has been discussed this afternoon, we will not be able to reap all the benefits which are possible. And again, banking, without the functioning banking system, you cannot bring in the support you need, you want to bring in order to make the whole system flourish. So for me, I mean, I would say the most short-term thing is maybe energy, but I don't think we can forget about one of these four pillars.
If you do not take that holistic approach to the whole lot, it won't work. Would you agree with that, Vitālijs? And in terms of where the greatest, I mean, obviously some are challenges we need to meet in order to be able to continue to function. The energy diversification, absolutely essential. But where are the biggest prizes to be had? And would you add anything? We only had time for 4 parallel sessions. Is there, you mentioned earlier, agreements on agriculture. Are there other areas that you would have liked to discuss?
But you see, what you now mentioned, it's really what Europe working now, from now to future, to next 5 years. It's European Economic Monetary Union, Energy Union. We talk about digitalization. It's really what we are, as businessmen, we feel it's absolutely necessary, because in this case, this political initiative, it should be absolutely very strong commitment, very strong control, how we're doing step by step. But 5 years we have from now, 2020, we should have EMU, we should have energy market, we should have a single market. It's our absolutely goal, target, our commitment. But you see, but if we'll have political not stability, it will be very difficult. If geopolitical continue to dominate over economic, it will be very, very difficult, because our very strong signal for tomorrow to our politician, to political leader, for new political leader in Europe, political peace and political stability, it's give for us trust to invest. It's give for us opportunity to look for a future and to say for our colleagues, yes, Europe is our future, but please provide political stability and peace.
Just follow up on that, because in one of the parallel sessions, people talked about the Eastern Partnership and business-to-business cooperation as a bridge to Russia, a bridge away when things are not working on the geopolitical level.
Yeah, but you see, we are living in a global world. And you see, first of all, we need it also, again for tomorrow, for political summit, we need European global strategy. We need European global defense strategy. You see, European Union, first day when we become a member of the European Union, our border become European Union border. But where is our Minister of Defense? Where is security on another? No. You see, each country is looking what they to do. But again, we investor, we would like to protect our investment.
Stefano, for you, the biggest opportunities, or would you agree with Markus that we have to tackle all these things together, A, because there are opportunities there, but B, they are the most important challenges as well as opportunities for us? And then I'm going to come out to all of you, and I'd like to get a sense, just so you can think about this for a minute, if in the discussions today for you there are issues, areas we haven't talked about that you think should have been put on the table. But Stefano first.
The biggest opportunity is commerce. Commerce creates wealth, wealth creates peace. This has been the model that the European Union has used to create peace and stability within its region, and this is the model that it continues to use even with its neighbors. So to me, it is clear. The path we have to follow is to get business to business to speak, start to create that economic integration, which will then start to make conflict unthinkable. This is where we need to go. And of course, I think, unfortunately, the biggest shadow over all this is, of course, Ukraine. Now, my feeling is, and I know you might be wanting to ask us at the end, but I'm going to tell you now, if you had to ask me what would that's one thing you would want to do, I would surely want to resolve the Ukrainian issue. Because if that is resolved, it will create such a positive momentum within the region that then everything will accelerate much, much faster. And the integration of the whole region will be so much faster. But of course, the key message that has to come out of this, and to avoid our past mistakes, is this, that this kind of progress, this kind of integration has to be with Russia and not without Russia.
Okay.
And this has to be re-emphasized.
Thank you very much. And I want to come out to all of you now and just I have a question for you really in the audience, as much as any questions that you have, about if you were there. They have dinner tonight, the EU leaders, the Eastern Partner country leaders, and then tomorrow morning they meet. And if you had a seat at that table, is there something that you would like to say to them? If you had, you know, there's this horrible American expression, the elevator pitch, which is what would you say if the person you most want to influence got into the lift next to you, was going up 2 floors, and you only had those 2 floors to deliver something. Is there any message that you, as a panel, and we'll come back to you in a minute, but I want to give the floor, a message that you would like to deliver to them, but also anything today that has not been mentioned, any issue we haven't discussed or haven't given enough emphasis to that you think more emphasis should be put on? Does anybody want to come in with a clear message? We had one message this morning of make it clear which direction you're going in. Anybody want to, or indeed has a question for our panel? Please, absolutely.
Thank you. We had also a section regarding access to financing,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of problems regarding this, because financing is very important for the development of the companies, sustainable development of the companies, and to become more competitive in the market. But as I understood from this section, there are a lot of risks, and I would like to give you a message that we need to implement some practices regarding risk assessments for the banks and for providing of credit loans, and to make clarification of the risks, and to implement good management system of the risks, because otherwise we will have always risks problems, and always banks will speak about the risks, always they will increase the percentage of the credit loans, always will apologize that banks has losses, but nobody apologizes that business has losses. So we have to get maybe effective or some reasonable balance between risks for employers and for banks. So in this case, we will have maybe harmonized system of financing. And maybe it can be some standard model plus some flexible changing criteria for the depending on the situation and the country's perspectives, or some maybe special issues.
Thank you. I'll give you a chance to respond in a moment. Let's see if there are any other points that people want to come in. Anything, any message you would have from a business perspective for our leaders tomorrow? Yes, please. Thank you.
Vladimir Korygin, Belarus. In fact, I'd like to say that we need to think more globally, and we need to aim at creating a common space. It is very beneficial if we create a space from Lisbon to Vladivostok. This is something we need to get ready for. We need to join our intellectual resources, other resources, mineral resources, raw materials from Kazakhstan, Russia, intellectual, historical resources from Europe, and this is what will ensure competitive advantages. But we need to approach this on the basis of common values, standards, and of course digital technologies.
Sorry for stealing your headset. I didn't bring mine down with me and needed to understand what you were saying. Any more before we come back? It's your last chance today, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a point you want to put on the table. Okay, let us come back to our panel. Perhaps first, László, a quick word on this question of the risk and the access to finance, the question there, and then I will ask you to draw some priorities and we will wrap up. Please.
Sorry, the answers is a never-ending story, because everything is risky, so the real life is risky, so all the business activity is risky, all the financial activity is risky. How can we reduce and how can we deal in the risks? That is the key issue, so that's why it's absolutely important to discuss it, and I think the new world and the new challenges in the new world created a new risky situation. That not only the normal business and financial risk, but some additional ones. So, in the aspect of the banking, it means that we need a more risk-bearing capacity. Sometimes it means that the banking sector also increased the capital, which is sometimes not very easy, and it's some additional money from the shareholders, so it's questionable. And how to use this money, this increasing capital is additional important issue and important question, because so there is a trade-off. So there is bearing, so higher risk, or a higher volume and a higher activity, and the stability of the bank. So in our case, in the European Investment Bank, which is at the moment all the rating agencies, of course, the AAA rating. So we are always thinking about how can we increase our volume, and how can we finance more and more business, but together, how can we resolve our very stable and sound banking status? That is the key issue, at not only our bank, but the others, so all the banking sector, because the banking sector stability, the financial sector stability is a key issue for the member state, the European Union member state, and the partner countries too, you know.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to try and now draw some conclusions and bring proceedings to a close. And I mentioned there, you know, if you had a seat at the table. And through the day, I have asked every panel to give me one priority to strengthen the partnership. We've talked about this from a lot of different aspects. We've talked about the political context. We've talked about the economic context as we started the day. We've talked a lot about the role of business associations, the dialogue between business associations, and we saw a great example this afternoon, but with the political level. We have talked about all those different sectors, and I just wanted to ask each of you, if you had to identify, if I can put it this way, a priority of priorities. If somebody opened the door at the summit tomorrow and said, okay, you can run in, you've got 1 minute, and you've got 1 minute to tell us what you want us to do to make sure this partnership works from a business perspective, what would your one thing be? And I think, Markus, you are being signalled to that you have to leave in a second. So I was going to do it in reverse order, but in order to avoid you not being able to get wherever it is you need to go, your priority of priorities, of all the things, and you've given me lots of priorities today, but what is the most important single message that should go from here to the political leaders?
No, well, I mean, Jacki, I'll surprise you, because Vitālijs will give you the message. I've been talking a lot, maybe too much, and people have heard me a lot, but just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to all the partners who were here. Thank you for all of you to stay until the end. I think this was an exercise which was really worth it. And again, I'm really impressed what, together with the EIB and the Economic and Social Council, we were able to do, specifically drawing on the help of the presidency, but first of all of our Latvian colleagues from LDDK. So thanks a lot. I move on because I've been told I should be at the airport very, very, very advanced, so I'll run. But I really wanted to say thank you. I said otherwise the messages, I had them all in several times.
Well, let me say thank you to Business Europe for your very crucial role in preparing this event, in organising it, in supporting it. Thank you for your contributions today, and good luck at the airport with the summit security. So, ladies and gentlemen, we join me in thanking Markus very much before I turn to the rest of our panel. Thank you so much. Okay, so, Stefano, if I could come to you, and then I will come to László, and I give Vitālijs the last word as our host here in the lovely city of Riga today. The priority of priorities, the one thing you would want the leaders meeting, the political leaders, can't even get the sentence out, meeting at the summit to do to make sure this partnership really works from a business perspective, what would it be?
If I may, one key message, and the key message would be, this is too important to fail. I'm borrowing this phrase from another area, but the Eastern Partnership is too important to fail. The alternative to failure obviously, success. And if we do fail, then the consequences will be tremendous, both for our partners and indeed for us. If I had to then identify one initiative or one action that needs to be done, it's implementation. Let's start delivering concretely on the ground.
But as you say, in the broader context of you need to fix Ukraine, because that will make the biggest difference, and that is the key to success or failure overall. László, from your point of view.
I have an old story about it. You know, maybe it's not one sentence and not 1 minute. So when Ptolemaios first asked if there was a shorter path to learning geometry than Euclid elements, Euclid famously replied, "There is no royal road to geometry." The same is the case in the business. We jointly have to find the right way and work seriously in a sound and prudent way. That is.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that eloquence at the end. Vitālijs, you have the last word of the entire day, the priority of priorities as we leave here.
But, dear Jackie, dear colleagues, dear friend, really, we are very hard working today during this day. You bring a lot of ideas, I said, a lot of comments. I think everything what you said today we will be implemented as much as possible in our recommendation for tomorrow for politicians. But if you talk about a priority from priority, it was today here, dialogue. Dialogue between business and politician, and dialogue between politicians. Because really, it's absolutely critical word. Because today, life cycle for each idea, for each activity, for each product, it's very, very short. It means changing, going absolutely fastly. And we should to more and more discuss with each other to identify new challenges, new opportunity. And without dialogue, it's impossible. And what we see now in some parts of the world where there's going conflict, it's only not enough dialogue, not respect for people, because world dialogue, civil dialogue, macro-regional dialogue, social dialogue, it's absolutely critical. And if politicians will be listen us, will be understand, but take into account their political life very short, 5 or 4 years. Yeah, but it is a really time which we can reach our goal in 2020 for us, absolutely critical. If we will be create our EMU, Economic Monetary Union, Energy Union, if we will be cooperate and increase our trade with worldwide, we should to show also business looking what is the best way to invest, where is the best way to sell, where is the best way to buy. Is really, again, only via dialogue. Now, that doesn't matter where we are working, what we are doing. Dialogue, dialogue, and dialogue. Because thank you very much for this dialogue. And I think Liga now show this dialogue which is materialized now. It's already signed each. How many countries now signed this, Liga? Sorry, I help you. I help you now.
But I think at the moment is right now that the agreements of on memorandum of understanding will be signed by President of Republican Union Employers of Armenia, Gagik Makaryan, President of Georgian Employers Association, Elguya Meladze, the Vice President of Federation of Employers of Ukraine, Alexei Meretreshenko, the President of the Ukrainian League of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs, Mr. Anatoly Kinach, and Vice Chairman of Confederation of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs of Union of Belarus, Vladimir Basko. So, gentlemen, are you ready to sign?
Oh, again.
Now we'll do it more officially. The photographer is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, a historic moment here. And very much, as we said,
Jackie,
what we've been talking about.
In this document, we are bringing this organization more closely to each other.
Absolutely.
In what you mentioned about partnership, it's real partnership. Edit each other to bring new idea, to help to realize, materialize this idea.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Vitālijs. And ladies and gentlemen, will you join me in thanking our closing panel very much, and a round of applause also for the signature of this Memorandum of Understanding. And it only remains for me to say some thank yous, if I might. I would like to thank all our speakers today for such stimulating and interesting discussions throughout the day. Thank you, a huge thank you to the organisers, to the Latvian Presidency of the Council of the European Union, the Employers' Confederation of Latvia, to Business Europe, to the European Neighbourhood Policy, Eastern Partnership. It takes an enormous amount of work to put an event like this together, and a terrific team. So let's give them a round of applause, if you would, please.
And of course, thank you very much for our...
Strategic partners. I'd like to thank the Employers Group in the European Economic and Social Committee and the European Investment Bank. Thank you, a round of applause for our strategic partners. I would also like to thank our forum partners, the Investment and Development Agency of Latvia, and thank you for organising those business-to-business meetings as well, SIA Lat Telecom, JSC Lat Venego and East Invest. Round of applause for them for their very special support. Thank you very much indeed.
And Jackie, can we ask for the gentlemen for the photo, because they did it already.
In a moment, but I just want to finish my thank yous, otherwise I'm going to forget. Very, very important, the interpreters, because they have done a fantastic job. Thank you very much to all of you. A huge thank you to all of you for coming, because as Vitālijs said, it is all about the dialogue, and you make the dialogue. And now, Liga, I will hand to you to close with a photo and anything else you might want to say. Thank you all very much. And drinks will be served outside. Thank you very much. So if we can now
thank you very much, dear colleagues, dear friends. Thank you very much. It's really unique day, unique time to all of us.
Thank you, Vitālijs. Thank you. Oh, thank you.